Hey, what's up, guys? Jay, host of the Hard Parking Podcast here. So what we're going to talk about is the Infiniti QX60. I had a chance to review this thing a couple months ago, so I'm a little far behind. I think it was on season 2, episode 23. Got to use the computer to cheat. So this is the second time I've had this vehicle. The first time I had this vehicle, it was from a loaner from the Infiniti dealership, and I wasn't too kind about it. I didn't really have a choice this time. I just said, get me a premium luxury SUV, use my free points, and lo and behold, got the Infiniti again. But let's hear what I had to say the last time. Stay away from the Infiniti QX60. Unless you absolutely, there's a ton of other vehicles you can get in that price range. $45,000, you get a used, much better car. You get a nice Audi Q7 that's only a couple years old for less than that. A superior vehicle with all the creature comforts and everything you need. Car's a piece of crap. This week I have a retread, and I talked about it in the opening. I have an Infiniti QX60 Pure all-wheel drive. So I pick up the car, get inside. I'm driving around this car. I'm hating this car because no CarPlay. No CarPlay, no J. You guys know that's my motto. How any vehicle in 2020, especially a luxury SUV, doesn't have Android Auto / Apple CarPlay integration is unforgivable. And when I'm looking at the infotainment center, it looks like an upgraded software version of my 2007. The suspension on this thing, super soft. I remember the last time I ripped it a new asshole for not having a sport mode. I couldn't find a sport mode, at least. So I'm driving around and it's got crazy body roll. The vehicle itself is really nice. So here's the thing. This is a nice step up for people if you're trying to get into the luxury SUV and you don't want the same thing everybody else has. The price point for this thing, brand new, if you want to buy one, is a little bit less than the main competitors. And by main competitors, we're talking the Acura MDX, the Audi Q7. It's incredibly comfortable on the inside. It's real cushy, and it's really roomy as well. You can fit 7 people in there, so it's got 3 rows. But like any mid-size vehicle that has the additional row in the back, if you use that row, you better hope you don't have a lot of luggage. Because it's like either you bring on the luggage or you bring on the people, but you can't bring on the luggage with the people, and that's what you get typically with a mid-size SUV, although it's a little on the larger side for a mid-size SUV, but something's got to give. This thing has plenty of outlets, 1 if not 2 USB-Cs, several standard USBs. People in the back have their own air conditioning, they have their own USB, they have their own whatever. Let's talk about some of the pros of this thing. If you want to buy one, it's the lowest price amongst all the primary competitors. And once you find the sport mode, because I found the sport mode, yes, I found that this one had a sport mode. It could be because of the trim that I had, because maybe my local dealership had a crappy one, but I have to believe that somehow I just happened to overlook the knob for sport mode. It's a different animal. Like, it actually feels kind of nice when you're driving around in sport mode. There's a lot of wind noise, which I don't think you should have in this type of vehicle. There's a lot of road noise, which I don't think you should have in this type of vehicle. But at the same time, I forgot how bad the Michigan roads are. There's not a lot of smooth roads in Michigan. In Arizona, where I live, there's not a lot of bumpy roads. So it's the exact opposite. So I think I can probably attribute some of that to the state. When I looked up the VIN on Google, I found that somebody had previously complained of a loud crash noise, and when they opened up the sunroof, it had blown up on them. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know if I believe that story where you're just driving, all of a sudden your sunroof spontaneously combusts. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But depending on how good the repair job was, that may have been the wind noise I was hearing. Oh, another thing about this is, just like I said before, the backup camera technology is terrible. It looks almost just like my 2007 car, and here we are 13 years later. It doesn't have the side mirror cameras or the bird's eye view camera. And while that sounds very first world, it's also a safety feature. And there's a lot of vehicles that have that. And if you're going to brand yourself as a luxury, as a premium crossover mid-size SUV, those are things you just have to have. $46,000, you need to have those. You need to have an upgraded infotainment center. You need to have a more robust rear camera. You need to have some other options for safety than what we saw. Driving it around town, it wasn't that bad. Like I said, once I found the sport mode, it was a completely different animal. So already the vehicle feels like a completely different vehicle. Why did they make econ mode? Why did they make eco mode? I don't understand. But would I rent it again? Now that I know where the sport mode is, maybe. But like I was saying before, the lack of modern smartphone, true usable integration makes it pretty hard to pull the trigger on for me personally. If I'm picking between, there's other rental cars, there's other rental SUVs I'd rather have that I've had before, like the Ford Flex. As funny as that thing looks, it comes well equipped for creature comforts. This is what I want. The Ford Explorers always have everything you need in them. The modern Audis, like an Audi Q7, which I've never rented, but like an Audi Q5 or a Q3. There's other ones. I'll take a Jeep Grand Cherokee as a rental any day over this, just because it's more for me. But I wouldn't necessarily not take it. So if it's one of the last available and they're like, do you want a QX60? I'm like, I can live with it. Would I buy it? I wouldn't. And I wouldn't buy it because the first thing I look at these days is the audio entertainment system. But I can see how many people would have interest in a vehicle like this. It's a decent luxury feel, look, and ride, and it's a solid upgrade to what most people would have on a regular basis. There's a lot of things that I want in a vehicle that other people don't want. I think I'd still rather have an Acura MDX because it's a better looking vehicle. It's not as roomy. It probably has more problems, but I think I'd take the MDX. And that is my rental car of the week. All right, so this time I went a lot better with the vehicle, especially once I found the sport mode. I don't know why they have eco mode. Okay, I know obviously why, it's to save gas. Also note about the price. So it is the lowest price amongst its competitors if you get the beginning model. So I think the MDX is like $44,500 and this was $44,450 or something like that. So anyway, to hear the rest of the podcast, episode link is in the description. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe to this page. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. You won't be sorry. And I'll see you guys next time.